Welcome back to StayChic, New York. Today we have a very special guest, my friend Colette, also known as the ItGirl coach.
Hey girl.
Welcome. So
Thank
happy
you
to
for
have you
having
here.
me.
It's a pleasure to have you. Thank you for taking the time.
Absolutely.
I am so excited to have you on here. I saw your content online a little while ago and I was so moved by one of the
Thank
TikToks you
you.
made. And it was actually about Olandria from Love Island on
Okay.
how alignment can really just shoot you straight to the top of your best, highest version of yourself. But I want to reverse engineer why, like how we got to this point, how you started talking about it, why, what it even means to reach your highest timeline and all this stuff. And I feel like you being the it girl coach is
Mm-hmm.
something that anyone who wants to be their chicest best self, they
Yeah.
should be listening to you. And I feel like you would be a great person to kind of explain some of the topics that are all over the internet, but people
Mm-hmm.
don't quite have a real understanding of it. Like, what is a self concept? What is an it girl? Like, what is a timeline? How do you get in alignment? So, I would really love to walk through these concepts with you.
Yeah.
But first, I want to hear a little bit about you and how you became the it girl coach.
Okay. So even like before I had an idea of a coach or what it meant to be a source of guidance for anyone, I have always been the kind of person that loves to empower other women. I have always been what people call a girl's girl. Like, I've always been the one to stand in someone's corner to uplift them. If I hear someone speaking down on themselves, I'll be the first person to correct them and say, "Hey, this is not who you are. This is just your current circumstance, but this is not something that you're claiming for yourself." So even before I had a concept of what a coach was, I always stood in my power to empower every woman around me. Like, I'm the kind of girl that will like see a girl crying in the bathroom, and like she'll leave like standing 2 feet taller
Oh,
because I cannot stand to see like I think we all have such high potential, and I think it's easy to ignore that and to just try to fit in the lanes and fit in and just be what society wants you to be. And I just can't stand for it. I want women to be their best self in whatever that means to them. So that's always come pretty natural to me. I'm a Cancer. I have a Cancer stellium and a Capricorn stellium. So the Cancer side of me is very nurturing. I have that big sister or auntie energy that I feed into everyone. And then as a Cap stellium, that's the business side. So that's where later in life I started to form it into something that I could package and give to as many people, as I possibly could. Which I can talk about that a little bit later. But that's kind of where I started out. I just have an extreme passion to help as many women as possible.
I love that. And I feel like we instantly clicked because we're both cancers and we're both big sisters. And
Yes.
something you talked about your journey is how you started off being, I think you started blogging or making content about being the eldest sister in a people of color household, which so many girls like this, that's like my target audience here is I just
Mm-hmm.
want the eldest sister to come here and feel seen and leave
Yeah.
feeling a little bit better.
A step before that, my first like coaching niche was actually daughters that had narcissistic mothers or fathers.
Okay.
And I also had my first like piece of content that hit 1 million views in that niche, but I couldn't grow it the way I wanted it to because it came from a place of anger and I was like mad. And so I was making a lot of bashing content. And although I think I was right to be angry about what I was angry about, the level of growth that I wanted wasn't going to come out of anger. That was like my not my final stage of healing because I think we're always healing, but that was like my final stage I needed before I could come into a space where I'm giving somebody an elevated product and not just like let's hate our moms together. Like
Mhm.
where like it did hit on an emotional level, which is why I think that content started to go places because emotionally people could resonate with it. But then one day I sat and I was like, okay, we're angry, now what? Are we going
Mhm.
to continue to be angry? Or are we going to take that anger and use it to power ourselves for something? So that's why I shifted. I wasn't yet It Girl coach. I shifted into eldest daughter coach because I think that everything that eldest daughters go through, especially if you're a woman of color or from an immigrant household, like we hold so much on our backs and we have so many different skills and we give those skills to everyone else except for ourselves. And my thought process behind it, and it's still there, I just say it differently. But if you can take all of those skills and use it to build yourself up, you're unstoppable. Like, because you have to be charming, because you have to know how to get your younger siblings how to do stuff, and you have to have good organizational skills. We're probably all really good cooks, so we know how to nourish, others. And my point with that was, hey, let's nourish ourselves. Let's use those organizational skills to get our own lives together. Let's use those leadership skills in a capacity that serves us and not just everyone around us.
I love that. And I want to get into step-by-step advice that you have for anyone who's listening to this who may need to hear it. But first, okay, since we are Stay Chic New York, I want to ask you, Colette, what is your definition of chic?
To me, someone that is chic is timeless and authentic. And I say that because there's like sometimes, defined parameters around an aesthetic, but I think we're our most chic when we're our most authentic, and when we're representing ourselves in the way that makes us the most comfortable.
I love that, and I completely agree with you. And do you think that it's the same for being an it girl?
Oh, that's definitely one of the standards for sure. I think it girls are women who know what their lane is, and they are completely comfortable in their own lane. And it takes a huge amount of being comfortable in your authenticity to own your own lane. All of the people that we think are the most remarkable are people that are owning their own lane. Like, we don't think they're remarkable because they fit in so well. They're remarkable because they've created something new and they're standing in it fully.
Do you think there's any misconceptions on what people think are chic or being an it girl?
I think the main misconception and the reason why maybe some women are afraid to step into that version of themselves is because we're taught that it's selfish, and societal conditioning tells women you're supposed to give. Like, your main job as a woman is to give, 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 give. And giving back to yourself is selfish, and you shouldn't prioritize that because you should be focused on giving, And all that leads to is burnout. I don't believe we can pour from an empty cup. Even who I said, my main passion in life is giving healing to other women. I still, either 1 or 2 days a week, I take a day to myself where nobody can contact me. I'm not giving anyone advice. I'm not giving anyone anything of myself because I have to replenish me. So I think the misconception is that it's bad to be selfish. And I think we need to embrace a little bit more of being selfish, because at the end of the day, we are still going to give. We just need to focus on giving some of that back to ourselves as well.
I think you're so right, because personally, I've been wired to give, 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 pour into others. And as a, eldest daughter, a New York City type A lawyer, ready to go, 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 a career woman, I can make anything happen. But oftentimes when when it comes to something like relationships or dealing with other people or controlling or things that are out of my control, that are on God's time, it is so hard for me to kind of take the reins away and stop giving into something that doesn't need to be poured into, and instead pour into myself. And there is that guilt of like, oh my God, am I being too self-indulgent here? How selfish am I? Blah, blah, blah.
Be more self-indulgent.
Yeah.
Because you know what? Also, if you have that thought, it's because you're probably a caring person. If you didn't care and you didn't care about pouring into people and giving to people, you would never think that. So just even having that thought, like, hey, am I being too selfish? That's probably a good sign that you're not being selfish, because you care enough to even evaluate. People that don't care don't ask themselves those questions.
That's a great point. Okay, so with that said, I want to ask you about your personal journey from where you started to how you became the It Girl coach.
Life kicked my ass. That's what I was going to say. I've always felt the need to pour into other women. I've always felt the calling. I've also always wanted to be an entrepreneur. I've never wanted to work for others. And that's not speaking down on anybody that does. I've just always wanted to live life completely on my own terms. Like, I've always had the desire to make my own rules, and to live life on my own terms. And a lot of that requires me to work for myself. However, I also wanted it to be easy, and I wanted it to be something that just came together. And part of that was I was looking at other people's lives that were aspirational to me. And I was like, it looks like it's so easy for them. Like, why can't it be easy for me? And in creating community with other successful women, I've, for one, realized that that was a facade. What I'm seeing is the end product. I'm not seeing the years that came before their success. I'm seeing their success. And I'm like, oh, it looks so easy. Well, yeah, they worked really hard to make it look easy. Like that, what I'm perceiving as ease is really years of hard work. So that was one part of it. Two, I've actually started two businesses before this. And I think those were my training grounds for how to get good at marketing, how to be comfortable, asking for people to pay for my product, because that's a huge thing. And I felt a lot of guilt around like, oh, I shouldn't be asking people for money. But if I want to run a business, that's a part of it too. You have to be comfortable asking people for money. I also had to get used to rejection and people not wanting what I have. So I think I started my first business in 2016, 2017, something like that. It was a makeup line. My second business was a clothing line. It was a streetwear line. Again, it was focused on women speaking their mind. Some things were kind of brash. Some people may say vulgar. And
Fashion is art.
right. And I did a lot of pop-up shops and streetwear markets. And I think through that, I learned how to interface with customers face to face. Ultimately, honestly, I think it just wasn't the right time for me to get the kind of success I wanted. And it wasn't the lane I was supposed to get it in. But I did learn lessons through that. And then I was working a job and I'd had it, like people were telling me like, you give such great advice. You should be doing live streams or giving advice on Instagram. And in my mind, I was like, my life is a mess. I'm terrible at dating. I have the worst self-esteem at the time. I can't start a business giving women advice. Like, why would anyone listen to me? My life is not aspirational in this moment. And I prayed about it. I was like, but I do want to start a job and like helping women is important to me. Prayed about it, got fired the next day.
Wow.
And I was like, okay, this is terrifying. So I immediately ran and got another job because I was like, I don't have any savings. This is terrifying. I don't know what to do with this. Like, and I wasn't yet in the right headspace to see it as an opportunity. Ran and got another job immediately. Working that job, I'm there for like a year. I'm bored. I'm getting complacent. And I'm like, I'm supposed to be helping women. When am I going to be able to do that? And again, I was waiting for an opportunity to come to me. I wanted it to be easy. I wanted people to just be like, here, take my money. And then I can be like, oh, now I can quit.
Right, right.
So I wanted, easy opportunities to come, but I did the same prayer. I was like, when is this going to happen for me? Lost my job again.
Oh my goodness. Again?
The next day, like within
Wow.
24 hours. And so I was like, maybe this is the answer that I've been looking for. It's just not the one that I thought I wanted, but maybe this is the opportunity. So I took it and I ran with it, and I went through different iterations of coaching style, as we talked about earlier. I invested in some training. I invested in a certification. I took everything I learned from e-commerce about running a website. So I did, take those lessons from back then, about running a website, running ads, things like that. I also read a lot of books about making content that can actually tell a story that translates to people, which I think that's what you saw, was me finally getting a handle on how to make content that actually tells the message that I want to tell, but relates to people in a way that, was moving to them. And that's where I am now. I'm in the process now of building an app. You will be one of the first people that gets to test it. I'll probably send you the link in the next week. There's still some glitches. I tried to do it last night, but there's still a couple glitches. But I'm also in this space now where I'm seeing little glitches and tiny things. It's like opportunities to learn.
I do want to say something. I think that a lot of the times we get imposter syndrome because our lives aren't in the best place where we feel like we can be giving advice from, me, myself included. And then sometimes when we're at those like rock bottom moments, we're like, well, how the hell am I going to give advice when I'm down here and all these other people who are succeeding with a huge platform, they have all these great things going on. But I think that there's beauty in the breakdown, And that's where we really learn and we build that strength, and it gives us that confidence and wind beneath our wings that no, we've been at the bottom, because I've been in very similar situations in my career, which I don't want to bore anyone with today. I want to make this about you. But you know, when you're in those rock bottom places, that's how you build that confidence and you show people, hey, I've been down here and now I've made it up here and here's how I did it. So I think it's all part of an amazing story and journey. And also that prayer that you said,
Yeah.
I don't know if people need to hear it or not, if they should try it, because, you know, you might be jobless the next day. So please. So I don't know if we want to hear, but I
It
do
was
think,
just, it wasn't a specific prayer. It was just like, this is not what I want. I'm not happy here.
okay.
I know I'm meant for something else. When is that going to happen for me? Like, when am I going to get the opportunity to make that happen?
So this was like not the like Sierra job entrepreneurial prayer, this is the job removal, but also trusting the universe. And I do
Yeah.
firmly believe that sometimes the universe or whatever higher power anyone believes in, it removes you from a situation that you would have been too hesitant to leave because it's comfortable. And it's happened all
Yes.
the time, yeah, to me
Yeah,
too.
and sometimes that removal from that situation in the moment, again, it's terrifying, but I bet any woman watching this can think back about maybe a guy that broke up with her, that it was very painful then, and now she, you know, years later you come across their Facebook and you're like,
Ooh.
thank you for removing this man from my life.
Literally,
You know, so it
literally.
hurts in the moment, but in retrospect you were like, that was, you know, a blessing. It was protection, it was redirection towards something that was more beneficial toward what I was actually asking for. And again, you only get those situations in retrospect, but the lesson I learned in it is to keep going and keep focusing on the goal, and at some point I'll look back and I'll see how every rejection or misdirection or whatever was actually directing me toward what I actually wanted.
Yes, that is so true. Rejection is redirection. So, I want to ask you a little bit about these key terms that a lot of people are just saying left and right on the internet, and I feel like you
Mm-hmm.
would be able to give a great explanation and make it make sense of how people can become that it girl. So,
Okay.
um, for example, what is a self concept? What is alignment? What is a timeline shift? Like, can you walk me through all these basics for anyone who needs to hear it?
Yeah. So self concept is just your understanding of who you are. It's your identity and it's your compass. So it's easier to explain in a situation. If and I use identity more than self concept, but I think they're interchangeable. But like if my identity, let's say, like when I had a job, when I had a 9 to 5, my identity was that of someone who works a 9 to 5, and because of that, my brain was looking for opportunities to confirm that. So when I decided I wanted more, I started to expand that identity, and I started saying, okay, well now I'm a business owner. And what does that look like? And that was around the time that I was like, hey, when am I going to get the opportunity to do this? But in that, my brain started looking for opportunities to confirm that I'm a business owner. And I stopped operating as somebody that worked my 9 to 5, which maybe that contributed to me getting fired. You know, maybe they could tell, hey, her heart's not in this. She's doing the bare minimum, because in my mind I was focused on ways to make my entrepreneurial desires a reality. So when I think about self concept, it's or your identity, it's the definition by which you guide your life. And if you have a narrow sense of self concept and identity, you're only going to allow yourself to pursue opportunities that fit within that. But if you expand that, then you expand what your brain allows you to do on a subconscious level.
That makes so much sense. And I feel that even myself, I get stuck in that identity of being a lawyer. And I remember in the
Mm-hmm.
movie Eat, Pray, Love, they one of the key takeaways that I watched this, like, I don't know, decades ago, who was like, who are you to describe yourself in a word? And they said like what you do is not who you are. And we forget that. And I forget that myself all the time. This is something I'm constantly trying to remind myself about is I'm not my career, I'm not my achievements.
Mm-hmm.
I'm Asha and I have something else to share with the world. And that's why I'm here today, right? It's not I'm not here as a lawyer giving legal
Mm-hmm.
advice. So I think if anyone needs to remember that they're more than just their occupation or their relation to someone else.
Absolutely. I agree with that 100%.
Okay, so what is alignment?
Okay, wait. I want to look at the Webster definition before
Okay.
I say mine because mine's more hypothetical. Not hypothetical, theoretical. Okay, so the Oxford Dictionary says that alignment is arrangement in a straight line or in correct or appropriate relative positions. And the second definition is a position of agreement or alliance. So when you
Ooh.
take that definition into account, it's do your actions, do the people you surround yourself with, do the environments you frequent, are they in what's it say in agreement with your identity, with who you actually are? And if those things contradict your identity or your goals, then you're out of alignment. So, for example, used to be a huge party girl. I still every now and then maybe once a quarter, you know.
We all need those nights.
Right. But I used to go out a lot. I used to drink a lot with my friends, had a lot of fun. Knew
Hmm.
every I mean, I still know every club promoter in the city. But when I decided I had different goals and I was making shifts, being a party girl was not in alignment with that. So I had to make the choice to not frequent those environments
Hmm.
because, time I'm spending recovering from a hangover is time I could have been spending either resting, actually getting real rest, because I think rest is very productive as well. But I also could have been doing that researching or reading or building something that's in alignment with my business. But I was spending way too much time being hungover or, having brain fog and not being able to think creatively. So I had to make the conscious decision, I'm not doing this anymore because I have these other lofty goals and they require me to think much clearer. They require me to be able to think creatively and to be solution oriented. And I can't think of solutions while I'm on a 48-hour hangover. So
That's
um,
true.
so that's what alignment means to me is auditing your actions and environments and people you spend time with to make sure they match the goals that you have for yourself and they match the identity that you have for yourself.
Personally, I think it's a constant struggle to get into alignment, but once you're
Hmm.
in alignment, it feels so good.
I have
And you're
some
like, oh,
tips to
okay.
do that.
Okay, okay, I want to hear them.
I have two.
Okay, let's hear it.
So one, I have a free exercise on my website.
Okay.
It's a meditation and writing exercise. So the first part of it is, well, it's three parts: meditation, visualization, narration, activation. That's how it's listed. So the
Oh, okay.
visualization part is a guided meditation. I think it's about 5 minutes long, um, preferably with headphones in a quiet environment so you can, lock in all the way. You sit, in that quiet environment with the guided meditation, and it guides you to think of that aspirational version of yourself. It guides you through her day. So how does she start her day? Where does she work? Who does she hang out with? What does she eat? What are her hobbies? If she's dating someone, what kind of person does she date? How do they feed into her achieving her goals? How does she end her day? So it just walks you through a day in the life of your aspirational self. And then right after, there's a writing prompt where you write out everything you can think about that version of yourself. And I think neurologically, there's just something that your brain does when you're writing. For some reason, it locks in a
Yes,
little more.
I've
So you
heard that.
spend, so you spend like maybe 10, 15 minutes writing about this version of yourself. And the third part is once you see that version of yourself and you have an idea, you have your compass set toward that version of you, you start pulling out the habits that person does. Because who we are at any given moment is a combination of our habits and our intentional actions. And habits can be created. We have neuroplasticity. We can change our habits anytime we want to, as long as we put the effort into it. So it's changing habits and your actions. So anyway, after the writing exercise,
Hmm.
you pull out maybe one or two or three things that are easy to implement. Maybe she rises and meditates for 10 minutes before she starts her day. Maybe she has a healthy breakfast. You know, maybe she dresses a certain way because it makes her feel empowered. So you pick out these small, easy things. And then once that's become a part of your routine and it feels comfortable, pick out something a little more difficult. Maybe she goes to certain networking events in her field to meet people, to enrich that part of her environment. Maybe there's a certain workout class that she's been dying to do, and she does that. And in that process, not only is she feeding her body, she's meeting other aligned women that, you know, also have goals that she has. You know, you pick out these little things, and the way the exercise is set up is over time, you add pieces to yourself until you wake up one day and you are that version of yourself. You've become her because you've aligned your habits and actions intentionally to be her. And the second tip that I have for that, and it kind of goes in line with the first one, but getting in the habit of asking yourself, does this fit my aspirational self when you're doing anything? Like, for example, with partying, I stopped partying because I stopped and asked myself, wait, does this fit what I actually want for myself? Let's say you're on a diet of some sort. You're going grocery shopping, and while you're grocery shopping, you're analyzing, like, does this fit the diet that I have? Does this fit the goals that I have for myself
Oh, I feel
on this
attacked.
diet? You know,
but
and
it's true,
it's
yeah.
I've done the same thing. Like, I stopped keeping sugar in my house because I am like a sugar addict. But I realized, okay, that's not healthy, and I have goals for health for myself. So I stopped keeping sugar in my house. I stopped keeping alcohol in my house, because I realized that those weren't in alignment with what I had for myself. And so I needed to decrease, you know, decrease my opportunity to engage in those habits that weren't in alignment with who I wanted to be. So it's just getting comfortable questioning everything. Like, is this in alignment with what I said I wanted? And when you get comfortable with that, it becomes a habit. And then over time, it'll become an instant thing that just happens. Like, oh no, I can't do that. That's not me. Or yes, absolutely, I would love to come to your book club. You know, that's definitely in alignment with who I want to be as a woman. So yeah, those two things, they help a lot with alignment.
The chicest people that I know in New York and across the world have that discipline. And I've heard a lot of times, like, you know, one of my old friends used to say that discipline is the highest form of self-love. And it takes a lot of effort. It's very easy to just, you know, give in and be like, oh, okay, we'll try again tomorrow. But when you keep going and saying no to things or people or behaviors that aren't serving you, that's where you get that shift. And personally, I struggle with that a lot on maintaining those good decisions.
When you're struggling with it, do you have a solid end goal in mind?
I think that this comes back to the identity and
Yeah.
the alignment is, do you remember who you want to be, or do you fall into, this is who I am now, woe is me, I'm stuck here, and this is
Right.
my life, and I guess it's not so bad, let me just make the best of it. But having that confidence and identity, you know, believing in that identity is how you can push through. And I'm constantly reinventing myself and trying to, and I'm also a Scorpio rising, so I can reinvent myself. I can reinvent myself in 3 minutes, but it takes a lot of discipline and effort. Like, even showing up now today, like you said about attracting aligned people, I haven't been online for 2 years. I've had this blog for 10 years and I haven't done anything with it.
Yeah.
And I would do it and then delete it, do it, delete it. And I told myself, no, 2026, I'm going to show up online. And I did 31 days of staying chic on my socials. And that's how you came on my algorithm.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I love that. The
Yeah.
algorithm knew we needed each other.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
it's exactly true. And I'm an example of what you were saying.
Do you feel more self-confident after sticking to your goal of 31 days of staying chic?
I think so. And I think it helped me want to continue recording the podcast as well, because getting in that habit, I mean, I did feel a little bit exhausted after the 31 days and I needed a few days to myself. But
sure.
I was able to see the difference in the way I was speaking on camera from the first one. I remember my dad, like he follows me, and he just got a phone a few years ago, and I'm like, who are you to critique me? but I was speaking really slow because I wasn't really thinking that much. And so ahead of time, I was just kind of
Mm-hmm.
saying what came to mind. And he was like, listen, you're talking really slow. Like, get to the point already. And I was like, okay, you know what? Low key, he's right. Because
Yeah.
if I press 2x and it's still slow, there's a problem here. So then I started getting more confident and being able to. And then when I posted a rant, it got the most
Mm-hmm.
views.
Yeah. When you posted the rant, did you record it and post it right in the moment that you felt it?
I did.
Those are the best.
Yeah.
Those are the best posts. When you
Wow.
have that energy, because you're subconsciously like extremely aligned in that moment
And
and you're passionate.
you know what the rant was about? It was about people coming to New York who didn't really who say they made it, but they're coming based on, after they've already become like big influencers and being like, look, I made it in New York. Like, no, you didn't. The real New Yorkers, no offense to them,
You're
but
like,
real
I've
New
been here. I put in the time.
Anyway, okay, let me go back to what we were talking about. So there's an identity, there's an alignment, and then there's a timeline shift. So what exactly is a timeline and how do you shift it and how do we factor in these things we've learned about identity and alignment?
So I posted that video about clarity collapsing timelines.
Mm-hmm.
And what I meant by that is, okay, what I was referring to on that post, it was a picture of Alandria.
Mm-hmm.
Well, okay, there was a picture of Alandria from Love Island,
Mm-hmm.
and then the next two slides were the boys from Heated Rivalry.
Yes.
And then the last one was Tiana Taylor, and I can illustrate what I meant because they were all creating the same point. When I was referring to Heated Rivalry and Alandria, there's been a lot of discourse about like how fast they blew up, and
Mm-hmm.
like how we didn't know who they were one day and now they're all over everything. And of course, we already talked about earlier how actually they've probably been working on themselves in some
Mm-hmm.
capacity for years. And obviously, we don't see any of that work. We just see the end product, which is, what's in our face every day on social media and in ads and in TV shows and all of that. But what collapsed the timeline for them was them being prepared and already being that version of themselves up here before the rest of the world recognized. So it's actually easier to illustrate with the Heated Rivalry guys in the fact that like everybody's like they have such great bodies, right? They didn't just do that like 2 weeks before the show. They were preparing themselves physically, they were preparing themselves as actors, they were preparing themselves in all ways. And when that
Mm-hmm.
opportunity hit, they were extremely prepared for it. So when I'm thinking about timeline collapse, it's, are you treating yourself as that highest version of yourself? And are you preparing yourself for that highest version of yourself so that when the opportunity hits for you, for the rest of the world to see it, you're already ready? So in that sense, their timeline of fame collapsed significantly because they were already treating themselves as that highest self before the opportunity hit.
Wow. That it makes sense. That's a
Mm-hmm.
great concept. And I think like anyone who's seen it, it's like undeniable, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
it looks like they just shot up to the top, but you're right. Like they've been working on that identity and self-concept and they were in
Acting
alignment.
lessons
Hmm.
probably because they had great chemistry. They had, even in their eyes, like the way their eyes move during certain scenes, like it reads so authentic. That's
Yeah.
years of acting
Yeah.
training. And even Alandria, like she was prepared to be a baddie
Yeah.
before we saw her on our screens. She was prepared. She had a sense of style. She had an aesthetic that she liked. Like she was prepared to be the fashion baddie that we see today. She didn't just go on Love Island and then somebody say, "Oh, I'm going to create this." She went on Love Island already as that girl and other people said, "Yes, I want to be a part of that." And that is what collapsed her timeline, but she was already who she was previous to that.
Yes. And I think also watching her and, the Love Island stars, you
Mm-hmm.
can kind of see the ways that they view themselves and the self-concept and what
Mm-hmm.
they say yes and no to, and then how they act on social media now. You
Mm-hmm.
can see like before they went on the show, they were just like regular people, and now they are like full-time
household names.
celebrities. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think you're right that anyone who wants to make it online
Mm-hmm.
can. It's just a matter of getting these three things in order: your
Mm-hmm.
identity, your self-concept, alignment, and continuing these habits so that you can collapse your timeline.
I'm going to add to that, not being afraid to take risks and seeing mistakes as a lesson, because oftentimes things don't work out for us because we're learning the same lesson over and over again. And if we can experience that mistake, see the lesson in it, and then immediately capitalize on that lesson so the next time that opportunity presents itself, we don't make the mistake. That's a timeline collapser. That's
Ooh,
a
I
timeline
love that.
collapser. Like I see this, for example, with women that I've coached that like date terrible men back to back.
Mm-hmm.
You're just learning the same lesson over and over and over again. And when we go back and think about the patterns they experienced, you realize this is the same man in different fonts.
100%.
This is the same thing.
I feel attacked again.
So it's like, you know that red flag.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't want it to be there, so you ignored it. But I know you knew what that red flag was, and the moment you can internalize that and realize, okay, this is what I'm seeing. Maybe this person isn't the right person for me, and break up with them immediately. The faster you stop learning that lesson, And don't say, when you say I'm attacked, that's me also. I dated the same type of terrible man over and over and over again. They may have looked different. They had different jobs. They were from different socioeconomic backgrounds. But in general, same man over and over. Same red flags that I ignored until I stopped ignoring them. And my life has never been so peaceful since I stopped. Now, I think now I cut people off too quick. Like if a text message is wrong, I'm like,
Oh, okay. So you have to be careful not to
blocked.
do. Well, it's funny because I do think that once I kind of learned this lesson in so many different ways in my life, once I started saying no to
Mm-hmm.
what's really, not serving me, and what's that lesson? Did I learn the
Mm-hmm.
lesson or not? I started attracting much better quality guys and friends and situations at work and just life experiences.
Alignment.
A
That's
hundred
exactly what that
percent.
is. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this has been such a helpful, amazing call. I feel so inspired, but I want to ask you a couple of rapid fire questions and then tell people how they can get in touch with you. So, what is one truth about becoming that it girl that people need to hear?
Stop being afraid of saying no.
I love that. What would you say to a woman who feels behind in life?
You're on your own timeline. If you feel like you're behind, it's because you're comparing yourself to somebody else. And when you embrace that you're on your own life mission, and that the things that you've experienced are necessary for your sense of success, then you won't feel like you're behind. Stop comparing yourself.
Sing it again. Like that's literally that is such an important message that I personally have to tell myself every day. Okay, so do you have a morning ritual that makes you feel aligned?
Yes. I wake up, I pray. The first thing I wake up do after I wake up is pray. Skincare routine. I used to have the worst acne in the world. And I started telling myself, you have beautiful skin, you have beautiful skin, you have beautiful skin. And then I also started doing the things that require me to have beautiful skin. So wake up, pray, skincare routine slash teeth, make a healthy breakfast. So I have chia seed pudding and a gluten-free bagel with lactose-free cream cheese and smoked salmon. And while the bagel's in the oven, I walk my dogs. So get a
Oh,
little bit of get a little morning exercise in. And the night before is actually a big part of my ritual. I set myself up for what I'm doing the next day.
okay, so a
So
nighttime ritual.
absolutely, I think that's the most important part. So I have whatever clothes I'd like to wear already laying out. I have my laptop set up to the screen that I need to be on when I open it. And anything I need in that moment, whether it's like a notepad to take notes, glass of water is already sitting there, anything I need to be successful so that after I finish my morning routine, walk my dogs, I shower at night too. I don't, for some reason, if I shower in the morning, I get sleepy. So I shower at night. So yeah, walk the dogs, get dressed for my workday, and then I can go straight to my desk and be set up for success instead of trying to set myself up for success in that moment.
I love that. Is
Thank
there anything
you.
else you want to add for the people listening who want to feel like their chicest, best it girl self?
Don't be afraid to let other people down. Not in a negative sense where you should just be upsetting people left and right, but oftentimes our success requires us to detach ourselves from other people's expectations of ourselves. Sometimes that's our parents, sometimes that's our friends. So don't be afraid to, if you have good intentions and you're doing your best, don't be afraid to let people down in the process.
Wow. Very important message to hear. I needed to hear that myself. We'll definitely put your information so people can connect with you and follow you and hopefully try out your app and also listen to you
Yay.
on your other podcast. I'm
Yes.
so excited for everything that you're working on, and
Thank
I'm just so glad
you.
that we met.
Absolutely.
So, a reminder until the next episode.
Stay chic.